One nuclear weapon.
Federal government honors 115 foreign affairs officials. Investigations ongoing in the killing of 16 Nigerian pilgrims in Burkina Faso, plus search and rescue operations continue for victims of earthquakes. These are just some of the major highlights on the front burner this week. Do sit back as we bring you up to speed with developments around the world. I am Abdul Salam Jubril. Welcome to Global Update. Let's begin in Nigeria, where one of the highest titles in the diplomatic corps was conferred on some foreign affairs officials. This was at the investiture ceremony held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja.
Nigeria's image and benefits therein, the global community, no doubt yielded a positive result over the years, witnessing several bilateral engagements and partnerships across the globe. At the investiture ceremony held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it is not unconnected with the effort of Nigeria's diplomatic corps in attracting more investments and headways to achieve meaningful development as well as accelerating the nation's economic growth. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama appreciated President Muhammadu Buhari for approving the conferment of 115 career diplomats from the ministry.
Automatically, when you achieve a certain level in the diplomatic service, you earn the right to be conferred by Mr. President with the honor of ambassador in situ. So there is a distinction between when you are accredited to a country as an ambassador, but also Mr. President recognizes that because of the work or the level that you have achieved in your diplomatic service, that you merit the award of ambassador in situ. So it's really a recognition of work done and position achieved. And of course, those who are still in service will be able to look forward to appointment as, as ambassadors to specific countries.
To come to this stage in a lifetime is very significant to each and every one of us.
Almost 30 years of service to my country. It's a thing of pride for my service to be recognized. Something that puts you on another, gives you added leverage to be able to work for the country.
We've been through different kind of training. We've been sent abroad for training. And what I have to say for young officers, that they should continue to work hard.
This is something that not every one of us who has started with us have been able to arrive today. So we should express our gratitude to Almighty Allah, and also we express our gratitude to President Muhammadu Buhari for making it real, and then to express our gratitude as well to Honorable Minister Geoffrey Onyama. So today is a day that I don't know how I can say to you, because it's a day that I feel I have gotten to what is called the level of self-actualization. We are not doing badly. Nigeria is already doing well, and there's a need for us to strengthen more on this. Our relationship, if possible, if not because of the economic situation which is global, we should be able to open more missions so that we can actually cater for more Nigerians. But because of the economic situation globally is not restricted to Nigeria, we won't be able to do that. And you can see that we already have countries whereby one country is already covering other countries, which we call concurrent accreditation. So the most important aspect that I want is to see a Nigerian foreign service that is at par with any country of the world, be it America or Europe or China whatsoever. I want us to be at par with this country.
Now, Burkina Faso has launched an investigation into the deaths of Nigerian Muslim pilgrims who were allegedly killed while traveling by bus to Senegal. The incident allegedly happened as the bus was passing through Burkina Faso. The foreign minister of Burkina Faso says investigation is ongoing into the deaths of Nigerian Muslim pilgrims who were allegedly killed while traveling by bus to Senegal. President Muhammadu Buhari had condemned the killing of the Nigerian pilgrims who were traveling to Kaolack, Senegal. The Burkinabe minister noted that no concrete information or evidence has been recorded that proves the veracity of the facts. The minister also said that Burkina Faso fundamentally disapproves of the accusations made against its defense and security forces, referring to allegations made about its army being responsible for the attack. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest and most volatile countries in Africa. Thousands of troops, police, and civilians have been killed, and around 2 million people have fled their homes since jihadists launched an insurgency from neighboring Mali in 2015. More than a third of the country lies beyond the control of the government, and frustration within the army at the mounting toll triggered 2 coups last year. We shall continue to monitor the situation and bring you updates as it unfolds. Moving on, South Africa's government recently loosened its local content requirements for solar panels and kicked off a review of plans for the nation's energy mix. This is in view of the country's erratic power situation.
The Solar Power Africa Conference and Exhibition is a collective of stakeholders in South Africa's solar energy sector, and business is booming. The energy crisis has fueled the unprecedented growth in the industry, and many homes and businesses are turning to solar power to keep the lights on. That growth has brought some of the biggest players in the global solar energy sector to the conference, and many are offering their latest products.
Whoever lives in South Africa is witnessing an incredible amount of load shedding, and you almost can't really sustain your life anymore if you don't have alternative power solutions at home. And it's felt not only by residents but also by industry and so on. So this exhibition now comes at the right time, and you can hear it. It's pretty loud in here because there are a lot of conversations about the latest installations, the latest technology.
Solar solutions available varies, and some systems are fairly advanced and suited to high users of electricity such as industries. Battery storage is something that is growing in South Africa as well, and it's an option many are turning to have a constant source of power.
We've seen massive growth. We've looked at this industry for over 8 years, and every year there's been very solid growth. I think now with load shedding, it's grown even more than we've seen in previous years. What's interesting there is it's not just solar, it's about the batteries as well. So people looking for solutions that give them more resilience. So really we've seen huge growth in battery plus solar this year.
For now, it seems the energy and utility landscape may be changing in South Africa as business and homeowners drive the solar revolution and harness the energy of the sun. The Solar Power Africa Conference comes on the back of 100 days of constant load shedding, and many businesses and homeowners are struggling to cope under the energy crisis, and many are laying out the capital for solar solutions in order to become energy independent.
Staying in South Africa, the country's retailers are facing several challenges that includes high inflation and power crisis. They are calling on government to intervene towards saving their businesses and avoid job cuts.
Inflation remains high and interest rates are up 375 basis points in the last year. Consumers are not only paying more for their debt, but also for basics like bread and milk.
Inflation is terrible. I mean, we're cutting all our luxuries. What we used to buy, we're not buying anymore. We're eating one loaf of bread, we're eating one slice. Things are tough.
With all the expenses that's going up so high, we can't afford the luxuries anymore. We can't afford to go on holiday anymore and service our cars. There's no more money for that.
With household disposable income declining, retailers are scrambling to draw customers in. Most food and clothing retailers say it's the power crisis that's really eating into their revenues.
to run a business, you need to attack two things. You either attack revenues or you attack costs. So as a sector itself, generally what people would then tend to do is the outlaying of people, because if you look in that income statement, most of the businesses in that sector, you will find that of gross income, almost 60% plus relates to people-related costs, wages, salaries.
At the moment, we are keeping our businesses alive so our staff can also support their families. If people follow my page, you'll see we have stopped doing specials, and with the way the market is at the moment, we cannot afford to do that. I even shortened my menu, so we've got very limited stuff just so that we can survive.
Recent stats showed business liquidations shot up over 30% in December last year. 159 businesses closed shop during the Christmas period. In total, 1,905 businesses were liquidated in 2022.
The impacts of load shedding has been very devastating to the retail sector in particular, because remember, they have to keep the lights on no matter what. One of our retail members, for instance, is now spending almost 1 billion a year on fuel costs alone. And there's so many taxes. Each rand being spent on diesel is going straight to the government coffers by way of all sorts of excise duties and taxes. Government should actually give our retail sector the rebate, because otherwise this is not a sustainable program.
Some big retailers have invested heavily in backup power, but they may not be able to withstand the longer power cuts.
In South Sudan, the launch of the country's first mobile money transfer services in 2019, experts say, is a key milestone in the country's recovery from civil war. They maintain that the introduction of mobile money in the country has provided development organizations with a better channel to distribute cash assistance.
Two telecommunication companies operate mobile money services in South Sudan. The telecom providers say the service has made it easy to move money safely and eliminate middlemen, especially in rural areas. Customers are able to connect easily to their bank accounts and pay for goods and services using mobile money. Despite restrictions on the amount of money transacted, locals are happy with the service.
Many people want to transact much more, but they cannot because of the caps that have been set in terms of the transactions and how much you can do on a daily basis.
A large proportion of the economy and trade in South Sudan is informal and cash-based. Financial institutions believe the mobile money service will provide financial inclusion, but the country's telecommunications sector is among the weakest in the world, with poor or no network coverage in some rural areas.
We are talking to people and also partnering with others, and especially in the digital space, to ensure that if you are in a village and you cannot be able to access the bank, then can you be able to get a mobile wallet?
We have to take clear steps forward in terms of digital banking, online banking. So this year we launched our Kush online app and we launched our Kush digital banking platform.
The banks say mobile money is an important step towards creating a more formal economy. Banking experts say mobile money systems could foster formalization of the economy, integrating informal sector users into business networks, formal banking and insurance.
A break beckons now, not to worry. When we return, we shall bring you more stories away from the African continent. Stay with us.
NTA News 24 has the sole mandate of bringing news to you anywhere and everywhere.
We set standards based on current broadcast realities while consolidating on a wider reach to variety of audiences.
We go beyond the screaming headlines to verify, interrogate, and accommodate all shades of opinion without prejudice to national interest.
Our well-researched, packaged, and live programs keep you abreast of events, personalities, and current affairs.
Welcome back. And if you just tuned in, the program is Global Update, where we bring you up to speed with events around the world. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing in both countries' worst hit areas. The following report captures the moments of the quake and its aftermath.
Search and rescue efforts continue in Turkey and Syria after devastating earthquakes on Monday that killed more than 11,000 people, officials said Wednesday. In Syria's Aleppo, a man joins rescuers to look for his missing friends and neighbors. He and his relatives were lucky to survive, but the residential building housing some 26 families next door has been flattened.
One of them had 3 daughters and a son. Now the father and 3 children have passed away. Only one daughter, who is 5 or 6, survived, and her mother is still missing. We buried them yesterday. It's indescribable to see something like that happen to your friends and neighbors.
According to the White Helmets, a volunteer organization that operates in parts of opposition-controlled Syria and in Turkey, time is quickly running out for victims that may still be buried under the rubble.
Rescue workers pull a sheet to protect those looking on. This is the sign that the person inside did not make it. Another dead body was pulled from the rubble 3 days after the initial deadly quake. The body of this 34-year-old man's wife was recovered only hours earlier. Their family wails in grief nearby. A quick drive down the main street of the province's main city, you get a sense of just how much that help is needed. Everywhere you look, buildings have been either partially or completely demolished, rendering them uninhabitable, leaving the majority of the city's population out on the streets. Aid organizations have set up temporary shelters, but it is clearly nowhere near enough yet. 10 minutes from the city center, this tent is currently the only real shelter 50 Hatay residents have at the moment. Mothers, fathers, children.
The most important thing is that we need a place to stay. We need a soup kitchen. We need to warm up. The weather is very cold. There are people sleeping outside in the greenhouse.
The number of buildings destroyed is 60 to 70% of the city. More than half of it is very difficult for people to imagine. It is very, very high. The most important thing is shelter, electricity, water, things people need to live.
According to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Hatay City has suffered some of the most destruction and loss of life, with well over 3,000 dead as of Wednesday. He added that over 21,000 personnel from the military, gendarmerie, and police are working in the province. International aid organizations have also faced geographical challenges getting to Hatay at the end of long, winding mountain roads. Those that are there appear to be focused mostly on the city center, leaving victims in the outskirts questioning when their help will come.
Help is in other cities, but they forgot about this place. Despite the great loss of life in Hatay, they concentrated on other areas. They abandoned such an urbanized city as Hatay.
No help came to us. Aid has started as of today, but we have not received any help yet.
It's not enough because our neighbors are still under the rubble 3 days later, and unfortunately they are not alive. It's too late.
As we were leaving, another aftershock hit the area, causing some that we were with to scream and run out onto the street. Their traumatization is palpable.
Well, such devastating sights there. China has joined several other countries around the world in rescue efforts and supplies to the quake-hit Syria.
The first batch of humanitarian aid from the Red Cross Society of China arrived in Damascus at about 7 p.m. local time on Thursday. They'll be transferred to the earthquake-hit area in northern Syria.
The People's Republic of China has provided urgent humanitarian aid to the Syrian people worth 30 million Chinese yuan, including $2 million in cash, and other relief material. This private plane from the Red Cross Society of China is just the beginning, and it's the first batch of aid that has arrived in Damascus International Airport. God willing, in the future, We will see more batches of Chinese humanitarian aid.
Before their departure from Beijing, the personnel of the team raced against the time overnight to make the preparations for the mission. Most of them didn't sleep for over the day until they got on board the plane. And the first batch of the humanitarian aid from them is mainly the medical materials. And they're prepared according to the requests from Syria. Well, these include the sprints for aiding those who suffer fractures and injuries in earthquakes, as well as the medicine to cure inflammation, stop bleeding, and relieve pain. Well, the leader of the team said the first batch of medical supplies could help at least 5,000 people in the earthquake-hit area in northern Syria. The team will work with Syria Red Crescent Society to get ready for the next move.
In the United Kingdom, tens of thousands of nurses and ambulance service staff have walked off the job on another strike over pay disputes, putting further strain on Britain's state-run National Health Service, with their largest ever strike.
Health workers across the UK continued striking this week with calls for salary increases to combat soaring inflation. In front of a hospital in central London, nurses waved placards and shouted slogans, venting their anger over their financial struggles.
I'm on strike along with my colleagues because we're trying to secure a pay rise from the government for nurses working in the public health system. Our pay has declined by about 20% over the last 10 years due to inflation. The people are struggling to pay rent, they're struggling to pay bills because of the energy crisis.
And obviously food prices have gone up, and obviously electricity is going up. It's really hard to kind of have any money left after you kind of do all that.
The UK's largest nursing union, Royal College of Nursing, said Tuesday's strikes included 20 more regional hospital trusts than those who went on strike in January. The British government said more than 88,000 outpatient appointments and operations have been cancelled in England as a result of the strikes since last December.
A look at other top stories that made headlines in the past week is up next. Stay with us.
The United Nations has called for an independent and impartial investigation into clashes in the separatist Somali region of Somaliland, which it said left at least 20 dead and 119 injured. Loss Adnod is claimed by both Somaliland and the semi-autonomous region of Puntland, loyal to Mogadishu. The Ethiopian government has said that it is sending about $90 million to the Tigrayan capital to help restart banking services in the country. The Prime Minister's National Security Advisor, Redwan Hussein, announced on Twitter that the National Bank had started to send the money to the capital, Mekele, for distribution from Monday. Ethiopian Airlines was also planning to increase the number of flights to the region. The Prime Minister had met for the first time with Tigrayan leaders since a peace agreement was signed in Pretoria in November after a violent conflict between the federal government and rebels in the northern Ethiopian region. Since the agreement was signed in the South African capital, fighting had stopped and aid deliveries to Tigray had resumed as the region has long faced severe shortages of food, fuel, cash and medicine. The United Nations reveals that the war, which broke out in November 2020, has displaced more than 2 million people and put hundreds of thousands in near-starvation conditions.
Well, that's it on this episode of the program Global Update. Join us same time on the same station for another interesting episode of the program. I am Abdul Salam Jibril. Many thanks for watching.
Thank you.